and in less than an hour from now, the closing gong at the Nigerian Stock Exchange will sound. Well, let's get a sense of what the market is doing right now from my colleague Temple Ashaju, who is right on the trading floor. Good afternoon again, Temple. So tell me, how is the market performing? At intraday, it was up. So what are we seeing now? I know some earnings came in this afternoon. So how is that affecting sentiment as we speak?
Absolutely. As we promised earlier, we'll bring investors and, of course, viewers up to speed with the updates in the with the latest in the markets at noon. That's what we're going to do right now. Well, yes, you said that the market was actually up earlier during the intraday trading period, and it looks like that's what we're still having right now, given the help that we've seen from Dangote Cement, which was able to bring in some good gains to the market. It has risen some 3.4%, even though earlier we know that it was in losses, trading at some 212 naira per share, but then it moved up. Back up as we saw some more investors now taking advantage of taking position in such a fundamental stock, and that has been able to drive upwards the industrial good segment of the market. The indices is up some 2.16%, given this level of interest that we've seen in that sector. Cadbury is also one of the major movers we're seeing in the market at this point in time, moving up some 5.26%, but that hasn't really reflected in the indices of that company because it's we've seen the interest, the sell pressure of investors and some other companies that haven't really done well. But with the look of things, that sector might eventually come up tick this afternoon as the market ends in the next few minutes, given the interest that we are now seeing in Nigerian breweries, as well as Nestle PLC. Nestle was also one of the companies that released its earnings recently, declaring a dividend of 20 naira per share now for investors. The share price, as we speak, is up some 0.6%. Ditto for Nigerian breweries, which is currently trading upwards, up some 0.50% in the market. In terms of losses, we've seen earnings, as we talked about, from Dangote Flour, but that hasn't been, that's one really battered earnings for this period, perhaps because of the spending power, which is really low on the part of the public right now, as well as the inflation that is really on the high side now in the macroeconomic space. And that, of course, is the same thing for a whole lot of the companies that you have in the consumer goods segment of the market. So Dangote Flour, given that level of the kind of report or earnings that it released a few hours ago, it is trading right now 9% down. And the moment investors or traders came into this exchange this morning, that was one of the first hits in the market, and it went immediately down by some 9.5% in the market. That is it. We also have Dangote Refinery Sugar that came in a few minutes ago, just before we came in for this segment. That's also quite unimpressive. But you know, it's in the fourth quarter of the year. That is about the period that you see a whole lot of festivities. You see a lot of ceremonies taking place here and there, and you have the public, taking out of their savings to, buy some items one way or the other. So you're going to see more consumption. That is the upside that companies like this in the consumer goods sector of the market really have. You got linkage assurance, as we speak, also down some 4.5%. So basically, as of a few minutes ago when we checked, the only sector that has a positive performance is industrial goods sector. The banking sector is down some 34 basis points. Oil and gas is also deeping. You also got the consumer goods sector, as I said earlier, on the negative side of things, as well as the insurance goods sectors. Let's go deeper into some of the earnings. Nestle, as I said earlier, came in a few minutes ago. You got the interest of investors in that company. The revenue declared for those period is some 63.3 billion naira, and that's a positive of some 7.13%. That's the top line there, which is quite impressive, with the 20 naira interim dividend declared for investors who have already bought into that. Of course, there is a closure period, and of course, there's a buying time that you have to also take note of. There's another company that has surprisingly declared a very impressive excellent result, and that is Seplat, as it promised a few days ago when the board members, the directors of that company had its meeting, that there will be the release of its earnings, the Q3 9-month earnings. Today, October the 30th. That result has been released to the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and it's quite impressive. Top line is positive by 103%, up at 173 billion naira. You got cost of sales really on the decline by some 70.25%. You have the profit before tax also really positive, moving away from 760 million naira from what it had about this time last year to 65 billion naira. And if you look at the profit after tax, which is what the company has netted, that's some 27.9 billion naira compared to what you have in the base year when it had some 1.6 billion naira. That's what Seplat is reporting. You know that Vetiver Capital, one of the major trading companies in this market, has also been able to give some good projections about that company. Currently trading at around 630 naira, within the range of 630, 650 naira in the market. It has a projection of some 900 naira. That is probably going to be reviewed as we go into the election season. But you know that this is an oil and gas exploration company, very heavy in terms of production as well. So this season of oil being on the high side, trading at some $70, $80 per barrel, as we had earlier in the period under review for this company, was quite positive for Seplat Nigeria exploration company. You got another company that also declared its earning, and that's been 11 PLC. It's an oil and gas marketing company. That company also released a very positive one, having seen some gross margin that was pressured by some 70%, and then you saw some tax charge of 3 billion naira. But in terms of revenue, the net revenue for 11 PLC, which used to be known as Mobile PLC, came in up some 41%, and you have that at 125 billion naira. If you look at the bottom line as well, that's really positive, 7.8 billion naira, and that's movement upwards all the way from 45 billion naira. That's what 11 PLC is reporting. Though we know that a whole lot of the analyst firms will continue now to carry out some kind of analyst conference call any moment from tomorrow. Stanbic IBTC, for example, has been able to do that. But before I end the session, Union Bank also released its earning, and that was really impressive too. We saw some net income from fees and commission, and of course, there was a real decline in its net impairment charge. Chimaze.
Thank you, Temple, for this update. We'll continue to track these earnings. And finally, the United Arab Emirates Gas has signed an oil and gas production and sharing agreement with Tanzania's semi-autonomous region of Zanzibar. A statement issued by the government of Ras Al Khaimah, the owner of Gas, confirmed the agreement had been signed by Gas Zanzibar subsidiary and the Zanzibar government. Ras Al Khaimah is one of the 7 emirates that make up the UAE. And that's it on the program. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chimezie Obi Uwagwo.